Sacred moments. Sacred moments with you. Sacred moments. Yeah. Enter in sacred moments. I'm here in this space on this day with you. I'm here in this sacred space witnessing the morning dew. Sacred moments. In voice and in victory, we will share our thoughtful view, conversing and even challenging things we thought we knew. Sacred moments. With expectancy and excitement is this time set aside. Won't you enter in with us? And come on, let's take this ride. Riding the waves of wonder and whimsy. We're not here to do silly or flimsy. We're sacred moments. We are here open to listen and engage and converse. You know I'm going to keep the triune God in sight and first. I'm here with you on this holy mountain of meaning, sharing vows and syllables, discussing powerful gleanings. It's sacred moments. With songs and sonnets and poems and prose, this is not just another one of those radio shows. It's sacred moments. It's sacred moments with me as your host, here to clear and create and commune with you from coast to coast. It's sacred moments. Enter.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Khadija. Alter Ego Phillips is in the house.
Yep, some technical difficulties, but I'm here.
Yes. So you'll see my face if you're watching live face here, and you'll see her beautiful face. We are here together and we are talking. We are communing. It is Sunday morning. I don't know if you know what day it is, but it's a dual holiday today, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have two holidays that are merging into one. It is Father's Day, so we do want to say Happy Father's Day to those that have that title and are honoring that title, and those of us that are celebrating the men, the fathers, the uncles, cousins, big brothers that, operate in that role. And thank God for those that have made their transition and made an impact. What say you, Khadija Phillips Alter Ego, about Father's Day?
Yeah, I love Father's Day. My dad was awesome. I love my dad.
Yeah.
He left a big impact on me and even his grandchildren, even though he didn't get a chance to know them all. We talk about him all the time, and I don't even think he knew or understood, the impact that he left. So, I was blessed to have him. A lot of my, friends grew up with their dads too. So, it's unfortunate to see a lot of our children didn't grow up with their dads, but, we all had our dads, all our dads, we loved them. Daddy's girls. So, I love Father's Day.
Great. So the second holiday, and we'll talk a little bit more about both of these holidays, and we have questions for our audience. Also, today is Juneteenth. Wow.
Yeah.
It has been signed into law that we are honoring Juneteenth, the actual day. I think it's a federal holiday, so I'm not sure if they're off on Friday or Monday.
I'm retired.
Monday. Okay.
You said I'm retired.
I'm retired, so these days are like, I'm off.
Okay, rub it in.
I worked a long time to get to this point. Let me just tell you. But so it's Juneteenth, it's Freedom Day.
Yeah.
So I'm going to remind us. I'm not going to sing a Father's Day song, but this song has been. I don't know if I'm going to sing it all. Resonating in me. Oh freedom. Oh freedom. Oh, it's an old hymn. Freedom. Oh, freedom over me. I know I sound horrible. And before I be a slave, listen, our ancestors, they was like, I'll be buried in my grave, okay?
Yes.
And go home to my Lord and be free. Yeah,
Yes.
well, all right. I'm singing it like somebody that's on the plantation that, you know, we're not in the sun all day. We gonna sing. We gonna always sing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so two holidays that have been merged together, and we do celebrate both of them. We are, first of all, we just skipped over to saying good morning, good morning, good morning to everyone that is listening and will listen later. Welcome to Sacred Moments radio show, which airs every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And these hopefully one day to be United States of America. We are welcome to have you. And if you're listening from Australia or Africa, or Amsterdam or Switzerland or Spain, welcome you across the world from globe to, no, not globe to globe, in, I can't even get the word out.
Coast
National and international, coast to coast, right? Coast to coast. So, good morning. If you're with us for the first time, please put in the chat if you can, wherever your social media listening ears are, that you're new, and we welcome you so we can say hello and come again. If you've been here for a while, say good morning. We love to see who's on with us, and we are just happy to have listeners with us today, celebrating and honoring Father's Day and Juneteenth Day. Yes.
I didn't know about Juneteenth for a long time. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. That's not something that, you know, well, I didn't hear about a lot. It just seemed like in the recent years, people really started talking about it more and pushing it.
Yeah.
And they were getting a lot of backlash now, because now that it's starting to go mainstream, now you see the big retailers trying to do merch and, you know, trying to capitalize off of it. And, you know, there are small Black-owned companies that have been about that for years.
Exactly. Yeah.
I can't even say I'm surprised, though, because that's what they do. But
yeah. The biggest thing I heard, I don't know if you heard about this ice cream. I didn't see it. But
oh, yeah, Walmart.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so random to me.
They're like, what, Walmart? I mean, but listen, that's to be expected. They still ideas from small creators, like that's what they do. So we really got to just be out here, like, you know, pushing our businesses. That's the you know, the point of supporting other Black-owned businesses. Not that you just are buying just because they're Black, but it's important for the market, because then these things happen. Because when they came out with their ice cream, then they were like, well, don't buy this, buy this. This is a Black-owned ice cream company. Well, who knew that? Why did we know that before this whole Juneteenth thing? Like, why aren't you posting that daily? You know what I mean? Like, you could post that. It's like,
I think it's difficult, though, for like small businesses to, we don't have millions of dollars to market. You know, Walmart, you know, somebody's goes, you know, that's another whole story about Walmart. But, you know, you have all of these large companies with large funding, you know, able to use marketing. And then, you know, someone on a lower scale that's just really trying to push out their good product. Their product is good, right? But how do you get the word out? Yes, like you said, you know, posting and different things, but marketing on a massive scale, radio, TV, print.
With that, like when they came out with that ice cream, the reason why people started posting the other ice cream, they were like, okay, this is the Black-owned ice cream company, get that. People started posting and sharing that. But it was in response to Walmart doing something. I'm proposing, why don't we just make it our business to do that every day? Every day, if you're sharing, a business like that you know about, people will hear about it because
I got you.
those posts went
Okay.
far. But the only reason why, millions of people knew about this company that had the black on ice cream, if just didn't know about it, was because people were upset because,
Mhm.
well, and it happens all the time. You're mad, like, a cop kills, a young black guy. Then it's like, oh, we have to support black people. And then it goes away and it dies down.
Yeah.
Something happened. And then you're like, oh, we have to support black people. And then it dies down again. Like, that's not something that we continuously do. So I don't know. I just think it's dope that it's an official holiday now. People are celebrating. There's a lot of events going on. I think they're doing something at Malcolm X Park today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yesterday they had something on like 6 in Germantown. They had something at Clark Park yesterday.
okay.
It was a lot, and today too. But it was a lot of different events and just celebrations. Telling people like what you're saying, because now we have to educate people on what this holiday is. And also I've heard some pushback. I don't know if you have or not. From I've heard pushback from other ethnic groups.
What's the pushback about? What's the problem?
Well, the pushback of what kind of we need a day. We need a day now. That type of thing.
Okay.
And,
y'all have every day.
No.
What we talk about? You have every day. Every day you can walk into the a building and do something crazy and come out with a AK-47 and not
Yeah. No, I
we
get
have
it.
every day, babe. So
Yeah.
okay.
But it's pushback from not, and this is not from everybody. Many people are celebrating along with us, just like we celebrate Martin Luther King Day or some other holidays. We feel and rightly so, as people that are Black or kissed by the skin, that we really could not celebrate fully, I would say, July 4th, because if we weren't, at that time, we weren't independent. We were enslaved. And so, I think it's Frederick Douglass that wrote that piece, what July 4th means to me, or something. If someone's listening, I'm getting it mixed up, but what he talks about, how can we celebrate that? And it's an amazing academic and human read that talks about the distance between understanding what that holiday can mean to someone else and what it means to those that have lived through enslavement and things like that. So I honor our ancestors, Khadija, because in my study of it, which is much more that I need to do, the reason why we have this holiday is because those ancestors from the 1865, they celebrated that day. Once they knew that there was no one else enslaved, in quotes, they celebrated it every single year. And that's how we got from 1865 all the way to, what year is this? 2022. And finally it becoming a federal holiday.
Yeah. And then too, just for them enduring and surviving, because like the song said, people were saying they'd rather be in their grave than be a slave. Well, if that was the case, we wouldn't be here. Like if they all say, you know what, F it, I'm not doing this, and they didn't fight to live, they didn't fight to survive, we wouldn't be here. And even
go ahead.
Some of the things that I read, like some of them tried to, and they they wouldn't eat, and they were forcing them to eat because some of them couldn't deal, but some of them like fought to live. Some of them wanted to survive, and they tried to keep their tradition alive, and if it wasn't for them, we would not be here.
And that's what that song was saying. They were saying, they were I believe that our voice and our words, and we know this, you and I, are very, very powerful. So when they were singing that song, right, they were singing, "Oh, freedom." They were saying, they were calling it to themselves. And not only were they, I believe, and this is my, as they say, sanctified imagination, they were calling it to themselves, and they were declaring it over themselves, and they were affirming that on themselves. Oh, freedom, like this, I'm free, right? Even though you think that you have me enslaved or bound, and they may have had in a physical way, that statement, "I'd be buried in my grave," that's somebody that says, listen, you're going to have to kill me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said, I'm not going to go down like this.
Yeah.
And knowing, and then the faith part of it is when they say, "I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free." Right? Because they believed that they were going to be free one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm be free over here,
Yeah.
or I'm going to be free, when I see my Lord.
One way or the other, it's going to happen.
one way or the other, right? Right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be the person that's going to fight for what I know, my God-given right to be free. I have to find it because it just went away. I have like 2 pieces. I'm gonna read this first one. It's just a little cryptic. It's a Juneteenth poem. I'll just read it. And it says, lived in this house all my life, but never was home. Lived in this room decorated so nicely, but never was draped with respect from you. Lived in this place called America, but never welcomed as a full human. Lived in this place called Earth, but God sees me, knows me, loves me, saves me, feels me, listens to me, hears me, and gives me the power to live in this place with the courage to continue to fight for freedom, to live in this place. It's a simple, very simple thing I was thinking of, is how sometimes you don't feel welcomed in the place that they say, everybody's free. I feel like that's what our ancestors were saying. We're only here, to work your land. We're only here to build your wealth. Like, we have no inherent human value beyond that for them. And, our ancestors were saying, no, no, we're not going out like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a little sad one. Oh, so let me, and of course, and then we also want to talk about Father's Day too. We want to ask our audience, what does Juneteenth mean to you, and what does Father's Day mean to you? If you have a shout out to dad or uncle or older brother or someone that you looked at in that way, this is a good time to shout it out and tell you. I was talking to one of my former church members, who's also one of my friends, and her dad, her grandfather, his name was Mr. Fred. I think I tell this every Father's Day. We were just talking about him. He passed away maybe, I'm not sure if it was about 10 years ago. But because I didn't grow up with a dad, and there was a couple of us that didn't. And Mr. Fred was the dad of the block.
Oh.
We adopted him and looked at him as this person that, although he wasn't, our dad, but I told her this story of one of my friends when we grew up, and Mr. Fred, you would see him every morning. He never drove a car, right, Khadija? He walked everywhere, but he walked like this tall black man. His back was always straight, And, he would always speak to the kids, and you would see him coming out his house in the morning, and you would see him going to work, and then you would see him coming home, and you would see him like opening the door for his wife and raising his children and stuff. So my friend, I remember one time we were all sitting outside, and Mr. Fred came to the door, right? And he said, it's time for, he called his kids in. He had like 4 daughters and 1 son. And he called them in for dinner. And my friend, she was, I'm tired of him calling us in for dinner. He always calling us in for dinner. And I'm sitting out on the steps here, but I don't have a dad. And I want my dad to call me. To call me in for dinner. I'm mad at you. We were little, right? But, I was like, how dare her be mad at her dad is calling her in for dinner.
Oh,
So at his funeral, this was the interesting thing. His funeral was like packed, right? He had a big family, but they call people up to have, the 2-minute.
Yeah.
Almost everybody from the neighborhood got up and said, Mr. Fred was like my dad. Isn't that something?
Yeah, to have an impact like that is like just wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, all of us around the same age, we was like, yes. He was like, all of us that didn't have dads, he was like our pseudo dad. And
I just wish sometimes things like that happen, like while the person is still here. It's like when you get to the funeral, everybody is like, oh, so wonderful, so this, so that. And a lot, like I was saying about my dad, like I don't even think he knew, like the way the music that he listened to, like the different things that he used to say to me. Even my friends, recall different things about him. But while he was here, I don't even think he knew. He was just, doing him, living his life. But I think sometimes, if you just slow people down and just tell them, hey, thank you. Like, this means that to me. I'm not saying I do it all the time, but like whenever someone passes away and I'm just at the funeral, I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they could hear this and know that they had this impact, that everybody in the neighborhood felt that way about him, because he was probably just being him,
He was right, exactly.
Not
like your
doing
dad.
Not doing anything intentional, just being him,
Yeah. But don't you also think that in the back of their mind, like I think that there can be intentionality there inside of you without you walking around saying I'm doing this intentionally. Like you make impact, right? Like you did, like you're doing things, you're walking around, you're living your life, you're putting, you see things, but you're not like walking around like saying, look at me. You're just living it out. And I think that there's times when, we, that's what we should be doing. We should just be living out our authentic self.
Yeah. Yeah. And he might have like, subconsciously, or even maybe he may have been intentional. Like, I see these kids out here, and I want to, they don't have fathers in the home. So I'm going to make sure, I do what I can.
Yeah. A living example. Yeah. Like what I remember about your dad, one, that he was like the coolest guy. I'm telling you. I used to think he was just the coolest guy, always like chilled. I never saw him like, freaking out over stuff. And, I admired that.
Yeah, and he was always like, don't let anybody knock you off your square.
Yes. So. And live that out too, because it's really one thing to say something, right? But it is another thing to actually live it out. And, I've been challenged lately because people call me a wordsmith and things like that. So words are important, but there has to be connection between, those, your words and your walk, your talk and your action. Those, you can't have two different, you saying one thing and you doing something else. They do have to line up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that like I don't know. I just think that that Mr. Fred story really touched me. I think that that's so sweet. We had a guy. We call him Mr. Honey. His wife's name was Miss Honey. I don't think we ever knew what his name was, so we call him Mr. Honey because her name is Miss Honey. And they like were the candy lady. So we would go in the morning to get candy before we went to school.
Mm-hmm.
She had like all the little penny candies and stuff like that. And they
Mm-hmm.
were kind of like the neighborhood mom and pop on the side where I went to middle school at. And I'm just thinking about him. He was just always there helping, quiet. He spoke to the kids in the morning, but I'm just sitting here thinking like, why do we call this man Mr. Honey?
Yeah.
And we never knew his name.
He let y'all call him Mr. Honey? Like he
Mm,
never.
mm-mm. Nope. We come, get our little candy, go to school. They started getting little pretzels and stuff. We say good morning to them. He never said nothing. Nope.
Wow, that's
Maybe their
interesting.
last name was Honey. Look, I
Maybe
don't even know if
so.
that was her first name. Maybe her last name was Honey, and so that's why he didn't think nothing of it. I don't know.
Right. Right.
But it was all. I mean, back then it was like neighborhood mom, dads, grandmoms. People that
Mm-hmm.
you looked out for. Like my neighbor, Miss Mary. Like she was like a grandmom. So you went to the
Mm-hmm.
store for got the Pepsis and the Newports and the newspaper and stuff like that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a shame it's not like that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it seems difficult to really understand the it's a difference between like neighbor and neighborhood to me now than it
Mm-hmm.
was then. Like I have I'm in an apartment complex, and so it's transient. We do have people, that come and go, but there's a few of us that have been here for a while. And I feel like they are my neighbors and they feel like I'm theirs.
Mm-hmm.
We're all elders. So, we look out for each other. If they
Oh,
don't see my car for 2 days, then they'll ring the bell, and I'm,
aw.
checking on them and, seeing if I don't see them for a couple of days, but it's only probably about now, like maybe about four of us that do that out of
Mm-hmm.
this complex that holds probably about 40 families. it's
Mm-hmm.
it's it's a little sad, you know
Yeah. Well,
but
times have changed though, but I
yeah.
just remember that being like just a good time, a feel good time to be alive. But then I was a kid too, so who knows what my mom was feeling during that time? She might have been stressing about something, or she may not have felt that way. But I know that for me, it was like, oh,
Yeah.
gumdrops and rainbows for the most part.
Yeah, kids, so when you're a child, you don't even know what's
Yeah,
happening half the time. You just know that, you're gonna have some dinner on the table at some point.
yeah,
Somebody gonna come in your room and wake you up and tell you to get up. You
yeah,
know that you got clothes, you don't know where they came from. The clothes
yeah.
fairy brought them.
Because I think one time my mom said something like, I don't know if the heat was cut off or something. I was like, what? Like, I don't even know. It's like she like shielded me from a lot of things. Like, I wouldn't have known. Like, just thinking about different things that happened in my childhood. Like, I didn't think. I mean, I had my challenges with certain things, due
Yeah.
to what was happening at the time. But a lot of things, like, I would never. No, I mean, my kids probably don't either because they just move through life like do do do. Life is
Yes,
wonderful. I'm
exactly.
like, girl,
Right.
I got
Yeah.
52 cents. What are you talking about? Like,
Yes. And the thing is, they know to come to you, right? They know
yeah,
that if they want something, they're not like saying, "Do you have enough money for this?" They be like, "I need this."
okay.
That's pretty much it. And you be like, "You need this, right?"
Yeah, my project is due tomorrow, and I need all this stuff, and it's 9 o'clock.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah. You know what? I knew we was poor because I would. My mother's not here anymore, but I would ask for stuff, and my mom was like, mm-mm. She just wouldn't get it. And I always wanted something that seemed to be a little bit more out of her budget. But I know one time, I didn't know this now, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is when I thought it was the best thing. You ready? So my aunt made she would make cakes on like Sunday or whatever. And I always wanted like icing on cake. And she was like, "Well, we don't put icing on cake, right? We put jelly."
Really?
So we were so poor. We put jelly on cake, but let me tell you something. I was so fat and greedy. I was like, yay, we eating jelly cake.
Well, why did you just not put anything on the cake? I'm cracking up. You didn't have to put anything on it. And not you say, yay, jelly cake.
I mean, listen, these ancestors, they made stuff work,
Yeah.
right? That's how we wound up eating the different things. I mean, they weren't good for us. We know that now. All of the different things. Carolyn said we were poor, but never knew it. Yes. Because, but we might have been financially poor, right? But we were rich in love. That's how I grew up that way. Like, you know, we were all in this one house. My aunt, my uncle, my mother, my brother, my sister, all in one house. We, you know, tied in there, and it worked. I slept with my sister and my mother, you know, and you know, it was fun. Yay. You know, you did not realize that the circumstances as a child were because they had to combine their money in order to just live in this one house.
Yeah, let me listen. When I left my first husband, I left with nothing. And then I got sick. I got the Graves' disease. So I was in the hospital, and then I had to get that little radioactive ice. And like I had all this stuff going on. So I didn't have any money. I didn't have anything. And just trying to like rebuild my life. Like I was like taking change to go to the laundromat. Like I was just doing all this stuff. But when I was talking to my now husband, talking to him the other day, I was like, we used to go to like Save a Lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like just different places were like change that like I had saved up. We would go to the TD Bank, put in the change machine, and we would like be budgeting. Like we had stuff. I always bake little cupcakes and stuff like that. Get them from the dollar store. Like we go to the dollar store and Save a Lot, and like it was working. It was working. Then like when I finally, you know, found a job and was trying to catch up, you know, it just was funny. Like I had the car I had, the windows wouldn't roll down, and it was like 100 degrees, and I was trying to go home. I had to go back. Like I can't drive. Like I'm going to die driving in this car. Then the heat didn't work. So I had bought this little heater, and he like hooked it up to like the electrical part in the car. So I was sitting in this car with this like this mobile heater thing, but it was still like it was crazy. Trying to build my life back up. But the kids was chilling. They had their uniforms. They had the little snacks that they liked. They didn't. I don't think they really knew outside of maybe different things that they may have wanted to do or go.
Yeah,
we couldn't always go, but yeah, it's just funny. I wrote about that in my blog too, about like just mom guilt, like trying to overcompensate. So as soon as I got money, like I would just go crazy on them. Like every toy in the aisle or, you know, anything that they wanted, trying to like overcompensate for that because I felt like, you know, that was my fault. Carolyn said, I guess it's a different definition of poor for every generation. Yeah.
That's an interesting comment. Like, I guess it would also consider like, what do you think poor is? Like you said, I don't think, like, I didn't know that we were poor to the point where we couldn't get like icing, but I thought it was, she made it fun. And we didn't have a lot of other things, but we always ate dinner together at the table. So we always had, that's, you know, this is part of why food, you know, you can use food out of place, but we ate together and food that we had a meal. And that's where I felt the most love at, right? Not that we didn't, you know, we wore the same clothes a lot. Even my son didn't even know we was poor. I was, you know, when he was little, and I remember like every week, I you know, we had hot dogs and beans, right? Every Friday or something, because I was like, well, this is what we're going to have to do right now. And he was like, he thought that was like Friday night hot dogs. You know, he thought it was like amazing. And I was like, guess what we having tonight? We having hot dogs, you know? So, you know, and then he had these, you he had like this one pair of jeans, and the jeans was I don't know if you remember them 501 jeans. And he wore them jeans so much they called them 501. But he was like, yeah, but I got 501 jeans.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you make it work.
Yeah.
You make it work. I don't think financial wealth is important. Having, enough money to, live, I'll just say, because we know as African Americans, we are, too often times the poorest of the poor. And so we need to work against that. But we also are grateful for our ancestors and our mothers and aunties who worked around that and made it work out.
Carolyn said things are more important now than it was when we were coming up. We were rich in other ways. And just talking about the ancestors, like I don't know, I was saying this to somebody, like, even though they were enslaved, they were still living their lives though. Like they were still getting married. They were still, having babies, even though they were, might have been, suffering trauma at the hands of their slave masters. They were still building lives and finding joy in whatever way it was that they could. So I just feel like we've always been that way, and not a knock to like any other race, but I think that's why we are able to endure certain things. Like even right now with inflation and just the different struggles that are going on, we may be stressing, but we kind of be chilling. Like sometimes, like, the stock market crash, you got people like that jump off of bridges, and we just still like, okay, I still got to get up and go to work, or I got to find a job. At the end of the day, these kids got to eat. So it is what it is. But I feel like we've been doing that since we've been here. Like
we have,
yes. Being in the fields in the hot sun, they, those pictures of those kids out there that's like 2 and 3 years old. You got them picking cotton and just crazy. You watched your husband get raped, just all kinds of stuff. But they still were able to find something to live for. Something, they took your kid, but you still kept going. You kept searching. And that fight and that will to live and to survive, we still have it. And I know our communities are a little crazy right now, but we still have that. Like we still have it. So even down to, your aunt, like we gonna have jelly cake and you with the hot dogs and beans, like it's like we're still listen.
That's right.
What we gotta do. We gonna survive. You're eating and kids is happy.
Yeah. I remember, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but I was talking to a couple people about it, and I was listening to a gentleman on another radio show, and and that was the word that he used was like, Black people, and I'm just going to straight up say it, like he said, and I'm actually going to use this in my piece that I'm going to do later on, said, we're like curators of joy. Like we find it, we create it, we make it. I can think about those, like you said, the people that were enslaved, but yet they stole away. They stole away to quiet places, hush harbors, we call them. And they celebrated there, even if no one else could celebrate them. They were like, well, you know what? Nobody else might not, but we are going to. We are going to shout. We are going to scream. We are going to holler. We're going to let all of that stuff that we can't do outside of this space out. And we are going to, believe in what God said about us, right? That God said that we were created in God's image, and that when God looked at us, it was good, and I don't care what, like what anybody else says, you have to know those things inherently inside of your own self. Because, people are trying to snatch those things away from you just because they want to stay in a particular place that they're not even in. That's where pride and narcissism comes from. So, and so we have continued to do that, even with the things that are going on in the city. Like you said, you started this podcast to combat all of those negative things that we know that they're happening. We're not sitting here acting like they're not. But at some point, we can't just fall into so much despair that we can't see the truth of who we are and our power that lives inside of us, that causes us out of despair and depression and anxiety and panic and poverty right?
Yeah, like we have enough of that. You see the negativity every day, and for some of us, when you go outside, you seeing it right outside your doorstep. So we have enough of that. It's on the news, you know, the media. You know, we talked about this before. They glorify what they want to glorify, and they're like, even like with Father's Day, you know, if you look at the studies, there are more Black fathers in the home.
Absolutely.
And there are more families, but they will lead you to believe that all or the majority of Black fathers are deadbeats. They don't take care of their kids. They have babies all around. While that's true in some instances, that's not the majority. But if you listen to the media, that's what they tell you. So you got to be mindful about what you take in and what you listen to. Because, you know, the ones who control the narrative, that's how they control you. Because if that's how you go around thinking, you know, that affects your mindset and the way you move in the world. Carolyn said church and fellowship helped me escape the negativity.
Yeah. And that's us again finding out that we have these spaces, sacred moments, fellowship, however it is. Those are building blocks because we still got to come back out in this world, right? We still got to walk these streets. You know, we still have to raise our families. We have to do these things that we have to do, and we're doing them against forces that are trying to say that we're not even worthy of having a family. I really appreciate that you brought that statistic out, because statistically, there are more Black fathers in homes than it is being perpetrated and raising their children.
Yeah, married, in the house, raising their kids. And you would not know that. I mean, that's not what you, just by the media and just what's portrayed, you would not think that. But that is the case.
Statistically, the case, the true case.
Yeah, just because I might even go back and get the exact number and post it. Because I just was reading it. You know, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Like, even like as far as like they'll have you believe that, you know, the majority of Black mothers are single mothers and they're on welfare, and that's not true. Black women are earning more money now than most men. And the majority of people that are on welfare and single mothers are Caucasian.
Exactly. And these are statistics that you can look up on the government websites.
Yeah, but you know, that's why it's very, very important. You have to monitor what you're listening to. I know, I even know for a fact, down to like the music. If I'm listening to Tupac, you already know what type time I'm on today. You already know the attitude that I have. You already know how I'm coming. But music, it affects your mood. Me, I'm not gonna speak for everybody else, but I know music affects my mood. What I'm watching on TV. That's why certain shows I refuse to watch. Like I refuse to watch that Emmett Till story. What is it? Women of something. Yeah. I just can't, because I have to go out in the world and be around certain people. And I know that it's going to affect my mood. It's going to affect the way that I, you know what I mean? And I already know the story. I already understand what we're fighting up against as, you know, people of color in America. So it's not that it's something new, but it's just, I can't. So I just protect my energy as much as I can.
Yeah.
They we had hoped BET would present our truth, but to compete they had to go commercial.
Yeah, and I mean, these stories are here, and we do have to, sometimes we have to search them out. You know, I am an advocate of listening, especially where we're at in Pennsylvania. You know, I listen to, I think it's the only Black radio station, that I know of in Pennsylvania. I listen to that. You know, I want to be balanced, so to balance out the negativity, of what people say about people of color, as we continue to talk about Juneteenth and Father's Day, is that we have to find pockets, of truth tellers. And like Carolyn said, whether it's in, a local church assembly or fellowships or however, communities, in order to make sure that we are empowering ourselves with the truth because truth is the truth. This is what freedom is about, right? Freedom is about truth, not the truth that, somebody else's opinion, but what exactly it is. And so I'm going to take my understanding of who I am from what God says about me, the one that created me, and that, I can be higher and better than what, not just because somebody else said it, but somebody that's pushing me down, and saying that you're not this, you're not that, you're this, and you are that, and they're lying. I'm not going to accept that anymore. And that's what our ancestors did. They said, I'd rather be buried in my grave. I'm going to keep coming back to that, than and go home to be with Jesus and be free. But while I'm here, I'm going to fight for my freedom. And we have done that. We have done that since the point that we got on these shores. We have done that. I mean, you're talking about perseverance, determination.
Yeah.
Amazing. So just to end out with, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's going to take too long, but just to give you a little bit more about Juneteenth so that we know it on June 19th, 1865, this is when the executive order came to the people of Texas that all slaves were free. Finally, getting the word about what happened 2 years earlier with the Emancipation Proclamation. And so Juneteenth from then to now, from 1865 to now, traveled in this celebration from south to north to east to west. And it was done through this oral tradition, exactly what you and I are doing today, talking about it, remembering it, saying what happened. So in this oral tradition, and also, as Carolyn said, in Sunday morning testimonies, telling of how they made it over. They told the story from Hush Harbors to Holy Home Tabernacles. And Juneteenth commemorates, and we are celebrating and honoring that, the African-American freedom. So it's a time for us today to buy Black, to keep buying Black, to seek out. I mean, not to forget that there's other, places and people, but to really think about what it means to spend money in your own community, to reflect on our strengths and to rejoice about how we made it over. Juneteenth reminds us to keep rising up, to fight this good fight of faith, because this is a good fight of faith with us, and to remember our strength and where our source comes from, the power that we have, the pride, and to remember that America still has a responsibility, and these are my words, to tell its true history. And I believe still needs restoration for those of us, and reparations in many ways. So we celebrate Father's Day today, and we celebrate Juneteenth today. So thanks be to God for both of these holidays that remind us of the truth of the matter, and that we will keep on going forward with the Lord. All right. I think that is it. I am going to invite you, as you see it going across the screen, Sacred Space Ministries. We meet the first Friday, Facebook Live at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we hope that you'll join us on our first Fridays, which will be coming up in, I think, in about another week or so. And of course, we're here. Is that right? About a week or so, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And do we have any announcements from Besties Media? Anything going on there?
No. Nope.
Right.
Nothing this week.
Nothing this week. All right. Well, keep checking out our website, the Facebook pages and posts and stuff that happens regularly, and just so that you know what's going on with Besties Media and with Sacred Space. And we look forward to seeing you next time right here as they used to say, same bat channel, same bat time. Mhm.
Bye.
Have a good week, everybody. Bye-bye.